So why don't we talk about dog training in the FDM community and platform? In a nutshell, everyone else is talking about it, and the conversation is circular and distracting us from the big picture of all the things we need to be attending to. The question behind the question of how should we be training dogs is, why are they having all of these problems coping in our environments that we're needing so many dog trainers in the first place? Why are they having all these struggles? Why are people struggling to live with them? Why is it such a point of tension and conflict? Why are so many dogs not succeeding in pet home environments, being institutionalized chronically, or even behaviorally euthanized in droves? These are really serious things we need to look at, right? Like what's actually going on here. So what we would pose is that asking about how should we be training dogs is like focusing on the downstream consequences of an upstream problem, as if you had a bunch of garbage floating down a river and everyone's fixated on like, how do we get the garbage out of the river down here? When really at some point you've got to walk upstream and say, how is all this garbage getting in the river? And so because our entire industry is obsessed with talking about dog training, and that conversation, yes, needs to be had about like how best to train dogs. But because we're hyper fixating on it, our attention is not elsewhere on other things that it needs to be on. So yes, it's important that some people continue those conversations and are focused on how best we should be changing dog behavior. But all behavior modification is invasive for the learner. It doesn't mean that's bad, but we can create behavior change that is deleterious to a dog's welfare regardless of methods. And that's a really hard thing for people to hear and think about, but it's true. You can create, for example, with nothing but positive methods, a hyper attentiveness to humans that then takes an animal out of their body to where they're not interacting with their environment, other animals. They're not even in the world because they're so hyper fixated, maybe on a genetic level too. And then through our behavior mod or training or whatever, we're conditioning them to hyper attend to us even more, which can look really pretty on videos and can look fancy to clients and stuff like that. But that animal's welfare may be very effectively compromised as a result of that, because that's not normal. Like what our goals are, our benchmarks for what we want dogs to do and not do, it is not natural. It is not normal. And we have to, pardon my French, pull our heads out of our asses about this and understand the ecology of dogs as a species, what's happened through natural selection and artificial selection over the course of these tens to 40,000 years, and particularly in more recent years where we have completely hijacked their ability to evolutionarily adapt out of the corner they're in as a species because we control all their reproduction, at least in developed nations. And then as individuals, they're not able to actually adapt to their conditions either. They're not able to like change their behavior in ways that can, effectively provide more relief for them in their environmental conditions, because the squeeze has just gotten so intense for them. So we don't talk about it because you can talk about it everywhere else, dog training. It is important to welfare, but it's less than 5%. The rest of the picture desperately needs to be talked about. We will be going through a deep dive of that over the course of the next few weeks about all of the things that are under the domains, the 5 domains, as well as many things that all of us do as a matter of normalcy that across the aisle in the pet dog industry, and how we keep dogs in the 21st century that compromise that welfare. These are conversations that need to be had. If we are going to actually change the picture of life for dogs and their caretakers in the 21st century, we have to become welfare literate. We have to understand ethology. We have to understand evolution. We have to understand the unnatural predicament that dogs are in, and we have to fully attend to our responsibility as professionals for not only raising the bar on our own work and our standards of what we're doing, but for guiding the public as well in terms of the care of their dogs, because we really just have not been doing that. So I will leave you with this. Our position on dog training is don't be a jerk. You don't have to be a jerk. Whatever you're doing, don't be a jerk. And be mindful of the power that you have in your hands. You might be manipulating, modifying behavior in a direction that is functionally resolving a human concern and could actually be costing a dog mightily. And we're responsible for that. If you are compromising a dog's welfare by making them painful, terrified, shut down, you know, isolated and lonely, then you're being a jerk. You don't need to do that. We all have a choice. We need to make good choices about what we're doing and how we treat others. And that extends to people, not just dogs. So, big picture, upstream, lots of other shit we need to talk about. We're committed to having those conversations that are chronically neglected and distracted from when we get talking about dog training. And don't be a jerk. We got a lot of work to do, guys. I hope you join us in growing up and evolving together as an industry, because dogs are over it. And they need us to put our big kid pants on and get to work.